If I handed you a summary of a war, you'd know who fought, you'd know who won, but you wouldn't know what it sounded like on the battlefield. You wouldn't know what the soldiers whispered the night before. Genesis is the summary. It tells us the world became corrupt. It tells us God sent a flood. But for thousands of years, there were other books. Books that didn't just give the summary. They gave the battlefield reports. They detailed the exact bloodlines of the giants. They named the angels who betrayed heaven. And they gave us the one thing the Bible left out: the perspective of the monsters themselves. Today, we are opening the lost libraries of Israel. And we're going to find out what happens when the giants realize they are going to die. Welcome back. If you've been following along, you know that the Bible didn't fall out of the sky as a single leather-bound book. It was curated. In episode 2, we looked at how the ancient world, like Babylon and Sumer, told stories of ancient beings handing down forbidden knowledge, and how the Hebrew writers pushed back. But here is where the story gets uncomfortable, because the ancient Israelites were reading books that your Bible tells you to read, but that aren't actually in your Bible. If you open the Old Testament to Numbers chapter 21, verse 14, the text quotes a mysterious source called the Book of the Wars of the Lord. If you turn to Joshua 10, the sun stands still in the sky, and the writer literally asks the reader, "Is this not written in the book of Jasher?" If you turn to 2 Samuel 1, David sings a lament over the death of King Saul. And the next text says, "Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher." The biblical writers are literally dropping footnotes. They're pointing to other recognized, authoritative texts and saying, if you want to know the full story, go read this. There's only one problem. It vanished, along with the book of Jubilees and the book of Giants. These weren't considered heretical by the early Israelites. They were considered essential history. So, what was in them? What was so intense, so vivid, or so dangerous that the empires and councils decided to leave them behind? Let's start with Jubilees. Historians sometimes call this the Lesser Genesis.
Look at this. I can hardly believe it.
Is it Jubilees?
Yes, I think we finally have it.
For a long time, scholars thought it was just a strange fringe text. But then we found the Dead Sea Scrolls at Qumran. Archaeologists didn't find one copy of Jubilees. They found fragments of it in Cave 1, Cave 2, Cave 3, Cave 4, and Cave 11. 15 different scrolls. The ancient Jewish community wasn't just reading this book, they were obsessively copying it. According to the text itself, Jubilees wasn't written by a human historian. It claims to be a secret revelation, dictated directly to Moses on Mount Sinai by an entity known as the Angel of the Presence. And this angel fills in the massive, disturbing gaps of Genesis. In Genesis, we get a vague summary. All flesh had corrupted its way. But in Jubilees, chapter 7, the angel of the presence gets terrifyingly specific. It says the Watchers, the angels who came down to earth, didn't just mate with human women. They systematically broke the laws of nature. The text says they began to sin against the birds, the beasts, the reptiles, and the fish. They were crossbreeding. They were taking the perfectly ordered creation of Genesis 1, where God separated the animals according to their kind, and they were intentionally blurring the lines, tearing the fabric of biology apart. And Jubilees gives us the ultimate horrifying detail. Out of this genetic chaos came the Nephilim, the giants. And when the food ran out, they didn't just eat humans. The angel of the presence tells Moses that the giants began to drink the blood. The world wasn't just sinful, it was infected. And Jubilees is only the beginning of the crime scene report. If Jubilees gives us the angelic overview, Jasher takes us straight into the dirt. Sefer Ha-Yashar translates to the Book of the Upright or the Book of the Just. As we saw in the footnotes of Joshua and 2 Samuel, the biblical authors trusted this book. They considered it a reliable historical record. But for centuries, the actual text was lost to the West, surviving only in fragmented Jewish midrashic traditions, until a complete Hebrew manuscript was printed in Venice in the 1500s. And when you read Jasher's account of the pre-flood world, you immediately understand why the Roman Empire wouldn't want this in the official canon. In Genesis 6, the corruption of the earth is described in broad strokes, but Jasher chapter 4, verse 18, gives us the exact mechanics of the rebellion. The text reads, "And their judges and rulers went to the daughters of men and took their wives by force. And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the air, and taught the mixture of animals of one species with the other, in order therewith to provoke the Lord." Listen to that phrasing. Taught the mixture of animals of one species with the other. They weren't just mating with humans, they were experimenting. They were taking the fundamental building blocks of life and splicing them together. We have a word for that today: genetic engineering. Suddenly, the mythologies of the ancient world stopped looking like campfire stories. Every ancient culture, from Greece to Egypt to Babylon, had extensive, detailed records of chimeras, half man, half beast, monstrous hybrids that defied the laws of nature. Modern historians call these myths. The book of Jasher calls them the results of a biological weapons program. And this is where the ancient world collides with ours. If you spend any time reading whistleblower accounts or diving into unacknowledged, deep underground research facilities, places like Dulce Base, the running theme is always the same: unauthorized genetic manipulation, splicing human and animal DNA, creating chimeras. We look at modern science, like CRISPR technology, or the fact that labs today are legally creating human pig embryos or organ harvesting, and we think we are playing God for the very first time. Jasher says we aren't the first. Jasher says this exact technology is what triggered the apocalypse the first time around. The judges and rulers of the ancient world were weaponizing biology in order to provoke the Lord. It was deliberate, calculated insult to the Creator. Out of this chaotic, broken world emerged the apex predators, the Nephilim, the giants. They were the ultimate result of this genetic sabotage, beings that consumed everything humanity grew, and when the food ran out, turned on humanity itself. For a long time, we only knew the giants from the perspective of the people they hunted. We only knew them as the monsters in the dark. But what if I told you that buried in the sands of the Dead Sea, we found their personal diaries? What if I told you we knew their names and we know exactly what they were dreaming about right before the skies broke open? For thousands of years, this book was a ghost. We knew it existed because a few ancient writers mentioned it, but the text itself was erased until 1947, when Bedouin shepherds stumbled into the caves of Qumran and found the Dead Sea Scrolls, mixed in with the oldest known copies of Isaiah and Psalms. That's where these fragments were. The Book of the Giants is a psychological thriller. It doesn't just tell us about the Nephilim. It puts us inside their heads. And what it reveals completely changes how we view the days before the flood. Because these giants weren't just mindless, roaring brutes. They were terrified. According to the fragments found in Cave 4, the giants began to suffer from violent, prophetic nightmares. Two of the giant brothers, named Oya and Haya, the sons of the fallen angel Semyaza, wake up screaming. They realize something cosmic is shifting. The earth is turning against them. Haya tells the Council of Giants about his dream. He says he saw a massive stone tablet. On the tablet were thousands of names. The names of giants, the Watchers, and all of the corrupted creations of the earth. Then, an angel descends from heaven with a knife. But he doesn't use the knife to fight. He uses it to scrape the names off the tablet. And then, a massive flood of water washes over the stone, leaving only 3 words. Then, Oya shares his dream. He dreamed of a massive garden, beautiful, thriving. But a gardener descends from the sky with an axe. He begins hacking down every tree, pulling up every root, destroying everything in sight. When the garden is finished, only one tree is left standing, a tree with 3 branches. The giants aren't stupid. They know exactly what the dreams mean. The names being washed away in the water, the trees being cut down, the single tree left with the 3 branches. It's Noah and his 3 sons. The giants realize that the heavens have passed the sentence. The flood is coming. God is hitting the reset button. And for the first time in their lives, the apex predators of the ancient world realize they're going to die. Panic sets in. The Council of Giants turns to their fathers, the Watchers, the fallen angels who brought them into existence. They demand that the Watchers use their power to stop the judgment, but the Watchers are powerless. They have already lost their place in heaven. They can't stop what is coming, so the giants make one final desperate move. They choose one of their own, a giant named Maweh. He is sent on a journey to the ends of the earth to find the only human being who has access to the divine council, the only man who walks between the realms of heaven and earth. They send him to find Enoch, to beg for a way out. Now, pause the ancient history for a second. On May 22nd, 1984, the CIA conducted a highly classified remote viewing session. The transcript is completely declassified today. You can read it on the CIA's own reading room website. The interviewer gives the remote viewer a geographic coordinate and asks him to look back millions of years before a global cataclysm. Listen to what the CIA subject described. They are very large people. They are dying. They are looking for a way to survive. They are waiting for a group that was sent out to find a new place to live. A Cold War intelligence program utilizing altered states of consciousness described impossibly large beings facing an apocalyptic cataclysm, waiting desperately for a messenger they sent out to find salvation. A direct psychological parallel to the Book of Giants, sitting right in the US government filing cabinet. Maweh finds Enoch and begs him to read the petition of the giants. They are begging for mercy. They are begging for more time. Enoch takes their petition to the heavens, and God gives him his answer. God tells Enoch to deliver the final message to the Watchers and the giants. There will be no forgiveness. There will be no peace. The floodwaters are going to rise, and the age of Nephilim will end. And it did. According to the text, the giants turned on each other in their madness before the waters even finished them off. The Watchers were bound in darkness beneath the earth. The slate was wiped clean. But if these stories were so crucial to the ancient Israelites, if they explained the true origins of evil, the corruption of nature, and the actual reason for the flood, why did the men who built our modern Bible decide to hide them from you? In episode 1, we talked about theology, politics, and power. When the Roman Empire adopted Christianity, it needed a religion that promoted order, stability, a unified, controllable narrative. The church wanted a theology where humanity was at the center. God was in the sky, and everything else was just a metaphor. But Jubilees, Jasher, and giants, they don't give you a tidy metaphor. They give you a universe teeming with rogue divine beings, genetic sabotage, blood-drinking giants, and cosmic wars. They give you a world where humanity is just caught in the crossfires of a supernatural rebellion. They can't build a stable, earthly empire on that kind of theology. It's too wild. It's too chaotic. It's too frightening. So, the councils and the scholars did what empires always do. They cleaned it up. They relegated these books to the shadows. They called them myths. They labeled them apocrypha. And eventually, the world just forgot they existed. But when you try to erase history, you almost always miss a spot. The men who edited the Bible managed to scrub out the books of giants. They managed to push out Jasher and Jubilees. But they couldn't entirely erase the man who walked between the realms. They couldn't erase the Scribe who delivered the final death sentence to the Nephilim. He is the most mysterious figure in the entire biblical text. Genesis gives him barely 2 sentences. It says he walked with God, and then he was no more, because God took him. But the ancient world knew exactly where he went. They knew exactly what he saw. In episode 4, we aren't just reading footnotes anymore. We're opening the book that early church tried to destroy. The book that survived in the mountains of Ethiopia for thousands of years. We're going to read the book of Enoch. You're going to see the universe exactly the way the ancients saw it. This is the Missing Bible. Thank you for watching. Stay open, stay wondering, and stay human.
from the shelf inside. Giants roaming in the days of old, watchers trading secrets, so we're told. Wait, what? Just searching for the missing piece, who knows? Wait, what? The glitches in the history never cease, from Enoch's pages to the desert sand.